श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः, गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। कलये सुंदराकारं सदैकप्रियदर्शनम्, अज्ञाननाशकं देवं सद्गुरुं मुरलीधरं, यस्य स्मरणमात्रेण जिह्वायां वर्धते स्वयं। महामन्त्रस्तं भजामि मुरलीधरदेशिकम्, प्रेमामृतं यो मुरलीनिनादैः श्रीकृष्णरूपेण पुरा ववर्ष। अद्यापि सोऽयं मुरलीधराख्यो पुष्णाति प्रेम्णा भुवनं सहर्षम्। कीर्तिते तु महामन्त्रे तत्राविर्भूय तत्क्षणं, सुप्रसन्नो भवेद्यस्तं प्रेमिकवरदं भजे। मुरलीमण्डितकरकमलं मुनिजनमोहनं, व्यत्यस्तपादं वनमालाधारिणं, प्रेमभक्तमण्डलनित्यकीर्तितं प्रेमिकवरदम् आश्रयेऽहम्। नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपापप्रणाशनं, प्रणामो दुःखशमनः तं नमामि हरिं परम्। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Warm greetings, friends. It's indeed a great pleasure to join you all in this Answers and Beyond episode. I wish to thank every one of you for joining, and a very special thank you to our friends from New Zealand Namadwa group for making this happen. The question that I will take today is from the New Zealand Namadwa group. As has been advised by our scriptures, Mahatmas and Guru Maharaj, I chant the divine names. I perform Nama Sankirtan. My question is, how do I remember to chant Nama during tough times? I realize that more often than not, on regular days, I follow my routine as far as Nama is concerned. When it comes to days where I'm really worried, when there are a lot of things that are running in my mind, I forget Nama Sankirtan. How do I tackle this? How do I hold on to my faith? Practically relevant question. I'm reminded of this story that Swamiji would quote during satsangs. This is a folklore. There was a village, and in that village, many hundred years ago, there lived a man, a good man with a lot of virtues. And in that village and locality, he was known as a healer. Why? Because he could heal people when they were ill. They would approach him. He had learnt lots of techniques, mantras, which he would use to make people all right. One of his specialties was he could heal people that were bitten by a snake or a deadly scorpion. He could detoxify, remove that toxin, that venom, and help that person get back to normalcy. This man was rather old. He's been doing this noble profession without being greedy, accepting whatever people give to him as a fee. He had earned the respect of everybody. He had a son who also wished to become like the father. One day it so happened that a group of people from the neighborhood came knocking at their door. They were all in tears. They said, "Oh Sadhu, you have to protect us. Our little boy was bitten by a snake, and he is lying in the bed, unconscious. It looks like he may not survive at all. We do not know what to do, and you are our only refuge. Please come and heal the boy." Immediately, the old man got up. With that sense of responsibility, his son wanted to tag along, so he also joined. The father and son went there. The son was standing in one corner, assisting the father, giving him whatever he wanted. He had this tiny little box in which he had some material. He went there and inspected that little boy. It was as clear as daylight that he was very, very critical. He may not even make it past that day. That was his state. Everybody had given up hope. Yorman said, "Do not worry, God is there, I will try my best." He did a few rituals and then he sat next to the boy and he muttered something holding his hand. It sounded like a mantra. It was not very audible, but he kept muttering it for some time. He did it for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and 60 minutes. The whole family was sitting around, tears in the eyes. They still were hoping for the impossible to happen. The son was very intently watching what the father was doing. After nearly 60 minutes or so, there were slight movements in that little boy. His eyeballs started moving. And little by little, 30 minutes later, our old man was constantly chanting this mantra, holding on to the boy's hand. He started to gently open his eyes. Imagine how the family would have felt. Opened his eyes, and it was a matter of time. The next 2 to 3 hours, the recovery was remarkable, and he began to speak. And all he had to do was take some medicines and get some rest, and he would be all right. The impossible had actually happened. You can imagine how that family would have felt. They bowed down to the healer. They offered him something, whatever they could afford. They thanked him for giving life back to their son. In their eyes, he looked like that God himself, naturally. And then they came back. The son, as you can imagine, was completely awestruck because he's never really been a direct witness to his father's healing. This was the first time. He asked his father, "So what is it that you muttered?" My father said, "It's a mantra that I've already taught you, which my guru taught me. I've already taught you, you know it. It's the same." "Oh, you just did that?" "Yes, I just did that. Nothing else, nothing else." He made a mental note of it. A month or so later, a very similar situation presented itself. Unfortunately, the old man, the father, was ill. The healer himself was ill. He really could not even step out of the house at that time. And there was this family in need, a very similar situation, a snake bite or a scorpion bite. The son thought, "Let me do it. After all, I observed, and it's this mantra. I know this mantra too. I will go and do it." So he said in a very reassuring tone to that family that I will come, and don't worry, everything will be all right. He gave an assurance, guarantee. The father tried to tell him something, but he was in such a hurry, very excited to try his hand at healing, that he just left. So he went to that house, pretty much did everything that his father did, which he remembered from the previous experience. And then he sat next to that person who was bitten by a snake. He held his hand, he said, "Do not worry, I will definitely revive this person. I guarantee you that." And he started to repeat that mantra in his mind. 1 hour went, nothing happened. There was no movement, there was no sign of recovery. He said, "Let me do for 30 more minutes." Nothing really happened for him to feel good about. In fact, it was happening the other way around. The body was turning blue little by little, the hands felt chilled. Clearly, the condition was worsening, the family was getting very impatient because he was giving all sorts of assurances. And our little boy did not know what to do. He was in a fix because there were people who were really angry because he had given all sorts of assurances. So he said, "I need to go back home and ask my father a few things, and I'm sure I will be able to make him all right. Please excuse me for 5 minutes, nothing will happen." He thought if only he could run away from this place, that's all mattered. And they all said, "Okay, go and come back." So he rushed out of the house. He went back to his father. He told his father, "I have gotten myself into a huge problem, and this is what has happened in the past 2 hours or so." The father, ill as he was, wanted to rescue the patient and also his son, because the entire village, the whole family will thrash him otherwise, because they're really angry. So he, with great difficulty, went along with the son to that house. He did the same thing that he did last time. He held the hand, started muttering the mantra, the same mantra. He did it for a good 1 hour, and little by little the condition reversed. There were signs of improvement, and in a few hours this person became all right too. Everybody was very happy. The son was relieved. Because had this not happened, irrespective of what would have happened to that person, he sure was going to die, and he knew it. So he felt like he had been revived too by the father. He was very relieved. They received the fee and they were heading back home, the father and the son. As they were walking back, the son said, "Father, I thought you really trusted me. I realized today that you don't really trust me." The father was shocked. He said, "Why would you say something like that? Of course I trust you, you're my son. I noticed how you healed him. And when I asked you what you did, you said it's just mantra which you taught me. I did the same thing. Nothing happened. But when you came and you did it, he was revived. So you're holding something back from me. You have not given me the whole deal. You have not taught me the whole lesson. You're holding something crucial. You don't trust me." The father laughed. How immature of you to think like that. Do you know what the difference is? My guru imparted this mantra to me when I was a little boy. I've seen him do this. And from that day onwards, I used to chant this mantra thousands and thousands and thousands of times every single day, and I've done it all my life. Uru yetirke. I've done it so many times. I've repeated it countless times. I do it every single day with so much discipline. I taught you this mantra when you were a little boy. You never ever practiced it. You never chanted it. And on that day, when you go and sit in that situation, you begin to chant the mantra and you expect it to work. That's really not how it works. It's not that 60 minutes of chant that I do holding the hand of the patient that heals him, but it's the lifetime of chanting that I have done that really comes to the rescue when I go and do it. Can you understand? Now it made sense to the son. Sri Swamiji would often quote this story during satsangs to tell us that this beautiful treasure that we have called us Nama Sankirtan, chanting the divine names of God, which has been bestowed to us by the Guru, by the grace of God, is something that we should practice every single day, especially when things are normal in our definition. When we make that as a part of our daily life, it certainly would stay with us on that day when things go wrong. When on that day we are pushed to the limit, when we are stressed out, the Nama will still stay within us because there's years and years and years of practice, abhyasa. On the other hand, like that boy, if I have not practiced it, and when I sit right next to that body, I begin to chant and expect that healing to happen, it's not going to happen. So we need to do it since the time we received it, for it to work on that day. That's how it happens. It's like how it would sound if I say that I will take a dive into that ocean after the wave stops. Will it ever stop? When one goes, another would come. It's going to happen all the time. That's how it is. To say that I will do all of this when things become completely calm and normal is really not going to happen. That's really not how life goes, isn't it? Whatever be the reason, let's not analyze that. One after the other, we are going to face happy situations, challenging situations. They would keep coming at us like waves. The one thing that we have received as a blessing from above is that Upadesha from the Guru. He has given us this divine name. And from that moment onwards, if I take it upon myself to practice it, I would be able to do it always. I would remember it. I will not forget it when the times are tough. That's really all I'm trying to say. There is a beautiful saying in Tamil. There is an English equivalent as well. But I will say it in Tamil because it has a beautiful meaning to it and explain in English. There's a saying that goes, Kaatrulla pode thootrikkol. Meaning, just as how we say in English, make hay while the sun shines. Kaatrulla pode thootrikkol is a saying that finds its basis in a practice that happens in villages near agricultural lands. After the harvest, in order to separate the husk and the grain, what they would do is when the winds are blowing, they would drop the grain with a husk from a height, and that would separate, the wind will separate the husk from the grain. The grain would fall down and the husk would be separated. So you do it when there are favorable winds. That's what it means. Make hay while the sun shines. It's the same meaning. Meaning, when the situation is right, learn to make the best of it. That's the essence. That applies here as well, but Swamiji would give a slightly different angle to this. He would say that it's Kaatrulla pode thootrikkol. Meaning, Katru here would mean respiration, inspiration and expiration, this breathing that is going on. In other words, alive and well. When I'm breathing in and breathing out comfortably. Kaatrulla pode, while I'm doing it, when things are nice and smooth. Thootrikkol, Tudi means to chant the Nama, to glorify God. Learn to chant the Nama while things are fine. Practice every single day it certainly will come in handy on the day when we are faced with a challenging situation. This is really what it means. As has been said, Janmalava Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smritihi. Meaning, the many spiritual practices that we do, the many holy places that we have visited, every holy river that we have taken a dip in, every puja that we have performed, the sadhana that we practice, all of this can be considered as fruitful if in that final moment, when this breath is about to stop, this life is about to leave this physical body, that moment, I remember the name of God. When I am able to do that, I certainly am going to be liberated. I will not re-enter the cycle of birth and death. Janmalabha Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smritihi. Remember his name in that last moment, that last breath, and you attain the holy feet of God. But how do you do that? Swamiji would say, is it something where we can write a reminder on a post-it paper when you breathe your last? Remember the name of God and put it right in front of us. Will it happen? That's not how it happens. We practice every single day. While we are breathing normally, with every single breath. Once the Guru has taught us the mantra, chant every day, practice every day, and the whole point of that practice is to be able to remember the name in that last moment, and it will happen, no doubt about that. God's grace, Guru Kripa, and the power of the divine name will ensure that we remember it in that last moment, and that makes this whole life's journey fruitful. The very purpose of life is achieved when we attain that moksha, that liberation. It's not something that can happen at that moment. A lifetime of practice is needed. There was a boatman, a boatwala, a very wise man. His job was to ferry people from one bank to the other, and this river was very wide, several kilometers long, almost like the sea. All his life, he has done this job of ferrying people from one bank to the other. One particular day, there was this huge group of people. They had hired the entire boat. There were 50, 100 of them, and they were ready to go on the boat ride. While they were all loading the luggage and getting ready, they were almost ready. They all noticed that this boatman was quietly sitting in one corner and offering some prayers and chanting the mantra that his guru had given him. He was performing some Nama Sankirtan. A few people came up to him and said, "What are you doing now? Why don't you get the boat ready? We can leave. Why are you praying now? Let's go, let's go." They were rather impatient. Our man was calm. He gave a gentle smile. He finished his prayers and Nama chanting. And then he got onto the boat and everybody was ready and they left. Midway, things took a very negative turn. There was turbulence in the river. There was a huge flood and the boat was rocking. It was going to capsize. You can imagine the plight of that group of people. They were running here and there, screaming. People were crying. There was confusion. Some thought this was the end of it because for a fact if the boat capsizes, nobody will survive. That's how strong the current is. The waves were so tall. They knew they will not make it. But some were screaming prayers. While they were doing this, our boatwala was very calmly engaged in rowing. He was negotiating. He was using all his skills. There was no sign of anxiety or stress in him. His lips were chanting the divine name, the mantra in prayer, and very calmly he was rowing. And he managed successfully to negotiate the boat and take all of them safely to the opposite bank. He did it. They were all very thankful to him. They asked him very respectfully now, how are you so calm? How did you manage? We noticed that you were doing your job and you were also chanting the Nama. This did not even come to our minds when we were in that situation. He said, when I was a young boy, my spiritual guru, my master taught me this. He said, when there is calm, practice praying and chanting. When the storm comes, row. He has told me this. That is what I practice every single day. Without fail, I do my Nama chanting, I do my prayers when things are calm. And while I'm on the job, I focus on that, but I also realize that this practice has made me constantly repeat this mantra within. I never forget it, even in that stressful situation, as I'm engaged in rowing. As I focus on that, my mind is also there in the prayer. It is that practice when things are all right that really helps. So that really is the point that I'm trying to underline here, because that was the question. How do I remember the divine name, especially when things are not well? I realize that I forget the name. That's what the friend asked. In order to do that, I would need to practice it when things are normal. All right. But I have not done it. I'm already in trouble. What is the solution for me? I can't wind time back and wait for things to become normal and then start practicing. Does not matter, friends. That's the beauty of this path called Nama and devotion to God, because we rely on His grace. Even in that situation, where we are faced with a challenge, the best and most potent prayer to call out for help from above is to chant the divine name. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam says. This is what all Mahatmas have said. This is what Sri Swamiji would often reiterate. It is the most powerful prayer, and when it's done, God certainly would come to our rescue, and then we can make that as a practice from then on. It helps. There's a very beautiful Kirtana, Madhura Geetam of Guru Maharaj in Tamil. But he makes a prayer to Krishna, our Premika Varadan, for our sake. It's a very beautiful prayer, and it's got a lot of relevance to the answer to this particular question. In that, Guru Maharaj says, Indru pol yendrum yenai ni kathidal vendum Premika Varada, Premika Varada. Premika Varada, Bhagavan, you should protect me today and always. Indrupol Yendrum. And what can I do in return? Vandanam, Vandanam, Mindum, Mindum, Vandanam, Vandanam Seivadandri, Verundrum Ariyen. Vandanam, Vandanam, Mindum, Mindum, Vandanam. All I can do is fall at your feet as a mark of my gratitude and say a big thank you and surrender myself to you. Protect me always. Guru Maharaj narrates 3 instances from Srimad Bhagavatam, which are very relevant to this question. He says, Aanai Kandru Arul Seida Kannam Draupadi Manam Katha Uttamane Tunai Pilandu Vandu Balakanai Kathai Pedaiyanai Kapadum Nin Kadane Indru Pol Yendrum Yanai Ni Kathidal Vendum. Aanai Kandru Arul Seida Kanna. Aanai is the great king of elephants, Gajendra. Did you not rescue him when he got caught? by that crocodile and there was nobody to protect him, when he called out to you, he did not know where you were. He did not know anything about you. He just called out to you, that supreme being. The moment he called out, you rescued him. Gajendra, Draupadi manam katta uttamane. Did you not protect Draupadi when she called out to your name? The mighty Pandavas could not help her. The king could not help her. The people of the country could not help her. The noble people in the court could not help her. And the only one that saved her was your name. When she called out to your name, she was instantly protected. Draupadi manam katta uttamane. And then Guru Maharaj cites the example of Bhakta Prahlada. Tunai pilandu vandu balakanai kaatha. That little boy, Prahlada, the king of bhaktas, the king of devotees, the one thing that he always did was chant your name. It was always with him. And when he was in a situation, when he said to his father, who asked him very sarcastically, Hiranyakashipu asks him, you say that Bhagwan Hari, Narayana is everywhere. Is he there in this pillar? I was there when this pillar was constructed. I did not see him enter into this pillar. He says in a very sarcastic tone. Prahlada does not say, oh yes, he is there. He says, can you not see? Father, can you not see? I see him. That's all I see. He goes around the pillar and prostrates before the pillar. And the moment he did that, you came from that pillar. In order to make the word of your beloved Bhakta true, you did it. Tunai pilandu vandu balakanai kaatha. You protected him. Pedai yanai kaapadum ninkadane. I am, Swamiji says, on behalf of people like myself, I am a weakling. I solely depend on you. I'm caught up in this world. It is your responsibility to protect me too. I surrender myself to you and I call out your name. In a nutshell, it does not matter if I have not been very regular in my practice thus far. If a challenging situation has already happened in my life, if I'm in the middle of it, still call out the name and the help will come. And then I can adopt that as a regular practice from then on. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. We will meet again in the next episode of Answers and Beyond. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki Jai. Thank you very much.